Before we start working on our forgot password controller, let's first have a look at what we actually get when we are on the dashboard page. And at the moment, it just loads this dynamic page content for page with Slack dashboard. And this is because we don't have our dashboard controller created yet. So let's quickly go back to our editor. And if we create a new controller and call it dashboard controller, and it is within the namespace app controllers, and obviously it extends our standard controller. And what we're going to have here is just a public function index, and then this authorize to make sure that obviously we have access to this dashboard, because if we click on this authorize, what it does, it checks if user is authenticated, and if it is, it simply returns null. But if it's not authenticated, in other words, if it's not logged in, then it redirects them back to the login page. So first of all, we obviously have to make sure that we restrict access to this page, and then return this view. We pass pages dashboard, then with user, and we're gonna set this guard user to this view, so we can use this user variable. Okay, let's now add some doc blocks. Returns a view. And what we're gonna say here, index, actually not index, display dashboard page. Okay, and let's quickly go to the resources to see what we actually have in this view. So views, pages, and dashboard. And what it has here basically is this heading with the dashboard, and then welcome back, and we have username in brackets. So let's convert it to the blade brackets, and then have this user, which instance is going to be sent through to this view when we use this with method on the view, and then user name. Let's do it like this. Okay, save it. Now go back to the browser, refresh the page, and there we go. Dashboard, welcome back, Sebastian Suninski. And there we go. So that's our dashboard page completed. Obviously, you can add as many things as you want here, but for this simple exercise, that's all we're going to do with the dashboard. Okay, we can now save and close all these files. Now the next controller that we need to create is the forgot controller. So new PHP class forgot controller, and this one will also extend controller. Our forgot password form will have only one field, which is where user will be able to put in the registered email address. So protected rules will be an array of only one item, email, and the validation rules are it needs to be present, so required. And then pipe, it also needs to be a valid email address, so email. And then semicolon, let's add some doc block here as an array. Okay, then for the constructor, when the constructor is called protected function constructor, to this one, we are going to make sure that obviously you can only access this page if you are not logged in. If you are logged in, you shouldn't be able to access it. So redirect if logged in. And again, let's add some doc block here. It returns void, and then the message will be add to parent constructor. Okay, now next thing is the index method. So public function index. And I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. And from within the index, what I'm going to do is simply return this view. And it's going to be pages forgot. And let's add doc blocks as well. It returns view. Going to remove this factory from here. And then display forgot password form. Save it, and just make sure that obviously you import this Illuminate view here at the top as well, and go back to the browser. If we go to forgot password now, we obviously cannot access it because I'm still logged in. If I click on logout and now access the forgot password, you see that we can see this form. If I click submit without adding anything, and obviously the validation kicks in. If we go back to the editor, resources, views, pages, and then this forgot blade.php, you can see action for this form is forgot post, so we will have to have this post method there. Then after submission, it will fade out with the message. And this is the form, obviously, our label with validation, obviously messages, then input, and buttons plus the confirmation container. Okay, so that's our form ready. Now, next thing we need to do is to add this post method. So let's start with public function post. Post, there we go. And what we're going to do first is run this post request only. We don't want to allow any other request methods, only post. So if there's a get, that should throw the exception. Then try catch block. And we're going to be catching exception represented by variable e. And let's import this exception as well here. There we go, right at the top. Okay, and now from within the exception, from this catch statement, we're going to return new JSON response, and this one will take this errors, and the second argument will be response, the Symfony component, because we have it already imported here, and then unprocessable, so HTTP unprocessable entity, which is 422. And after this, we are going to call send headers and then get content. So that's our catch statement. For the try, we are going to start with this collect request, and the items we are interested in is just email. So now that we have data collected, next thing we need to do is validate that data. So this validate request, then we're going to go for user equals this validate email method, which we don't have yet. So let's quickly add it. If we add this method now, validate email simply needs to check if this email exists. So we check if is null, and then we associate the returned instance of the user with the user variable equals user, and then we call method by email. We pass this input, which we've just collected email address from that input, and then we want to get the first record. So first record on this user class, on this user model. Let's now import this user as well. So app models user right here at the top. If we scroll down, so if it's not null, then that means that obviously the user has been found, but if it is null, then obviously user is not found. In other words, someone's trying to reset password for non-existing records. So this add error, and we go for email field, so it's going to be displayed above the email field in a form, and then invalid flag. So once again, if I open this forgot file here, this view, you can see invalid means email not found. You can change this message obviously to whatever else you'd like to. And then let's throw the exception. So throw new exception, and the exception will say email does not exist. Otherwise, if user is not null, that means we found the user by this email address. We're going to simply return this user, and we can do it this way because, again, here when we actually check in if it's null, we automatically instantiating this and associating this with the variable user, so we can return it here after all. Okay, let's add just some doc blocks here. It throws exception, returns user instance, and validate email address. Okay, going back, what we need to do now, once we've got the instance of the user, if exclamation mark this send email, and then we pass user instance through as an argument, then again we're going to this add error, and this time we're going to say email again above the email field technical. That means that obviously email for some strange reason couldn't be sent, and then we throw the exception again, exception, and we're going to say sending email failed. And after this, we know that email has been sent, so we can return the message. So return new JSON response, and this JSON response will have well, let's put the array here with the message saying please check your email for your mailbox, perhaps mailbox for instructions on how to reset your password, and full stop. And after this, let's just again send headers and then get content. So that's pretty much it. We obviously don't have the send email method yet, so let's quickly add it. Now it's the instance of the user that we're getting through as an argument. And now here it's going to be very similar to what we had with the registration. So we start with return statement, then this container, on this container, from this container rather, we'd like to get the instance of the mail component, so make mail, and then we can chain it. So we're going to go for at from, and it's going to be again same thing, .env, a get and a key, and let's, if I just open this file again, it's going to be business email. And then we're going to have the same, but this time rather than business email, we're going to have business name. So that's who's sending this email basically. The from field, then at to, and that's going to be user and his email address. And then user and his name. So this is where we're sending this email to. Then we have subject, so set subject, and subject will be password reset request. And then we have set body, and the body will be this message body, and we pass user as an argument again, and then we simply want to send this message. So let's call this send method. Now let's add some doc blocks, and what we're going to say here, it's going to return integer. As you may remember, the send method will return integer. So send email with instructions on how to reset your password. We can probably move this onto this line here. There we go. Okay, now we obviously don't have this message body. This is when we're going to create the message that we want to send. So user again, and this one will be again URL. We're going to start because we need this link to click to take us to the reset password form. This request, we get root again, which is again going to give us the protocol together with the domain name. Then reset question mark token equals, and we are going to associate a new token at the same time as we are actually resetting it. So user reset token. And if we open this, and obviously semicolon at the end, if we go to this reset token, it sets the token, saves it to the database, and then returns it. That's why we can do it in one go, basically associate and reset at the same time. Okay, so then what we do is create our message again. Out is going to be within the paragraph. Please click the link below in order to reset your password. Full stop, closing paragraph. Semicolon at the end. Out again, we're concatenating this with, and I'm going to close the file browser on the left so we have a little bit more room here. We're concatenating this with the a tag, so ahref, and then out our URL, then out again, concatenating with the closing double quote for the href attribute target underscore blank. Close the opening a tag, then out we go for URL, out closing a tag, and then simply return it all. So that's our message. Now I'm going to remove all this redundant space because this is the last method within this controller, and let's add some doc block here as well. We have string user and get message body. Okay, so our forgot controller should now work just fine. So if we now go back to the browser, and before we do anything, just make sure that obviously you have the existing record for which you want to reset password. And I'm going to submit this email address that I've been using during this course, hit on submit, and there we go. This is processing, so that should send an email in just a second. If we go back to check the mailbox, there we go, password reset request. If I check this email, you can see we have a link pointing to the reset controller, then with a token obviously. So if we click on this link, we at the moment get just a dynamic page, and this is because we don't have this reset controller yet. Let's have a look at this in the following video.